Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and since it's Women's History Month, I'm here today to talk to you about Miranda, the series rundown review. This show is a very funny British television series, a comedy, starring Miranda Hart. I remember when I first saw her on Call the Midwife Season 2. And Call the Midwife is a serious drama, which is shocking because she's all about comedy, slapstick, and making people laugh. And so, like, she did both shows around the same time. 'Cause, over in Britain, they don't have too many episodes, probably like six at the most. And I believe there were six episodes total in every season. So this show lasted for 3 seasons. It first started in 2009, then the second season was in 2010, then the third got delayed because of her filming on Call the Midwife. And so they did the third season. The third season ended on a cliffhanger, and there was no season 4 plans. So, this had to like really upset her and everything. But luckily, the studio gave her two specials afterwards. A Christmas, I can't talk. A Christmas special, and the one that ends, or the one that resolves the cliffhanger. And so this is a very, very, very British comedy type show. If you've never seen British comedy, it's so much different than like American comedy. It's about wacky humor, slapstick type stuff, like odd catchphrases. The most wackiest thing you can think of, is in this show. And what's interesting about this show, this is based off her semi autobiography called Miranda Hart Joke Shop. And so, like, I think that came out in 2008. And she's a very funny, very talented woman. She wrote and created this entire show. Too bad it couldn't last a lot longer. I forgot what streaming site I originally started watching this on. It might have been Roku or Amazon or something or another. I can't remember which one. But one thing that always bugged me is I was never ever able to see the two specials because whatever streaming site I was on didn't have them. And so years later, when I got Hulu, they had this on there and the two specials. So I was finally able to see it. Hulu had it for a while, then they took it off. I don't know if it's still back on there or not. I believe it's on the Roku TV channel app. And so, like, this show, it follows around the central character of Miranda, named after herself. And it's a group of her friends and her mother. And what's really interesting about the character of Miranda is that Miranda is a huge child. Like, she's a very tall woman, but she acts like that of a kid. She doesn't take nothing seriously. She is just really goofy, really silly, and she has no confidence in herself. She's this huge stature of a woman, and so it's like, you think she'll be like this mean, grumpy person, but she's not. She's like one of the most lovable people ever. But her goofy nature can kind of rub people off the bad way sometimes, because it's just kind of like, what the world is wrong with you? But people know she's such good-hearted and natured and stuff, so they don't try to be too mean to her. But there are times when she does get into it with other people, especially that are like really serious people. She's the type of person who like is very, very socially awkward. Um, I mean, she is beyond awkward and everything. And I remember one time, the first episode, my God, she was looking for like new clothes. I think it's been a while since she bought clothes, right? And so she goes to a shop, and I forget what it says, but it's something like she sees something about tall, big women, something like that. She goes in there, she buys an outfit. It turns out to be a drag queen type store. So she's wearing like these big, like, evening gowns that like drag queen wears, and she's so oblivious to everything and stuff. And What's interesting about the show is that before I get back into the Miranda character, my bad. I'm so tired. It's my bad. So anyway, it starts off every episode with her breaking the fourth wall, talking to the audience, talking about what happened on the previous episode, and and all this other stuff. She'll tell a couple of jokes. The way, and I'll tell you how the way it ends a little bit later. But Miranda, she's this kind of like middle upper class type lady who has a huge inheritance, and she spent it all on a gift shop and like a joke shop type thing. Well, all this silly, weird stuff. And she makes, this is what's so weird about her, right? She makes fruit people and vegetable people. She calls them her veggie pals and her fruit friends. And she's just the most weird, bizarre type lady ever. But she refuses to like grow up and everything. But just like any other person, she wants to fall in love and everything. Now, she is the type of person who constantly gets kicked out of places. Like, somehow she went to this hotel and she lied about a certain job, a business meeting they was having there. So she got to stay in like the luxury suite and everything like that until she got kicked out. I think she was looking to like relax or something and just got into an awkward situation where she just pretended to be somebody else. And so, like, trying to think. I guess I'll tell you how the show ends. Not ends like well, how every show ends. With the end credits. It's very unique and very special. See, they film in front of a live audience, and what they do is after the show, all the cast members come out when they get their name called. They look at the audience, they wave at the camera, they do something a little silly, a little goofy, and it's very unique. You don't see that over here. And I really like that. That's one thing I like about like other countries and all these streaming sites. You get to learn so much of how they do things and stuff. And so she's hopeless romantic, right? And one of her best friends named Stevie, who she works with there, sometimes they compete for men. They get along very well, but like they do compete for men, and there are times where they get into arguments because of Miranda's childish behavior. Now Stevie's a little childish as well, but not as childish as like Miranda and stuff. And so she falls in love with this dude named Gary. They was old college friends and they've been in love for the longest time. And but they never acted out on it. And then so when they started working next to each other, because his restaurant that he works at is next to him, to the joke shop, that's when they start like the date and everything in the second season. But they break up when she finds out he married for like a green card and stuff. And she found that out by Clyde, the dude who owns the restaurant. And so they stay broken up for the most of the second season, and she starts dating another guy. I think his name is Michael. He works at like a TV station and stuff like that, and so he's all in love with her, wanting to marry her, but he's supposed to go over to Africa and everything. So then it ends on this huge cliffhanger of who she gonna choose and like stuff like that. And so like she doesn't end up with Michael at all, but she kind of ends up with Gary a little bit. And so, but then she decides she doesn't want to be with neither. So this is something that's strange that happens. When she breaks up with him, she decided, all right, it's time for me to grow up. And when she starts to act normal, she kind of can't handle it. Like her friends and family are kind of freaked out because of how normal she's acting and stuff. But it doesn't last for long, and she goes back to being her silly, goofy self. Now, in the end, her and Gary do finally get like married and stuff like that in the special. So she finally got like her happy ending and everything. Now, one interesting thing about Miranda is the way she talks. Like she will repeat like a phrase, and it's weird. She breaks the fourth wall a lot. Like, so, okay, I'll try to like remember something. Like, say, like, I'm about to go to the beach and go bike riding, bike riding, bike riding. Like, she'll just do it like that Or she's all like, ooh, the day feels so warm and crisp, crisp, crisp. And she does that over and over. And it's funny when she does it the first couple of times, but it gets very annoying when she constantly does it. I mean, she constantly does it. Now, Stevie, like I said before, Stevie is like the best friend. She's silly like Miranda, but she's a little bit more serious and she has the confidence. She's the assistant, like owner of like, or manager or whatever at the joke shop. It's so weird because like Stevie's one type of people where it's like, her and Miranda get along so well, but then they get into arguments here and there. Now, every time she sees this cardboard cutout of Heather Small, she starts singing the Proud song, and she just starts like just randomly just starts singing. And it's so weird and bizarre to see her do that because it's kind of like it's funny, like I don't know what, but it's you will never see that in an American show. It's that off the wall humor that they have over there, like in other countries. Now, Gary, like I said before, he is her romantic interest throughout the entire show. They knew each other in college. They just like she has unacquainted love for him. He's attracted to her, but they don't act on it. He works at like this restaurant. And so in the second season, they do start the date. Like they very much like each other. And but the problem is that he's married and for the whole green card thing. And so his wife is from like Hong Kong and everything. And so, of course, it causes them to break up. And they remain friends after a while. But one thing, like, he's the only person who will accept her truly for who she is and everything. Her weird, silly, goofy nature. Like, he just really likes that. But there are times when even he will want her to be a little bit more confident and, like, stuff like that. And like I said before, they do end up married in the special. Now, her mother, Penny. Whew, her mother cracks me up. Her and her mother do not get along whatsoever. Her mother is middle upper class as well. She's married to Miranda's father, but their marriage is pretty much dead and has been dead for years. Her mother does not approve of nothing she does because, like, Miranda is too silly and goofy and she wants her to be taken more seriously. She also constantly wants her daughter to get married. She does not like the idea of her daughter being single and she wants grandkids. And she is constantly badgering Miranda to like get married to the point where she is constantly trying to hook her up with men. Now, despite them two never getting along and all this other stuff, and those two like literally rag on each other, her mother does love her daughter and everything, and she only wants like the best interest for her daughter. And her mother is just like one of the most hilarious people on the show. Tilly, I believe her name is. She is a very interesting, funny friend of Miranda's. So she ends up calling Miranda Queen Kong because like her tall stature, right? Now, we don't really see too much of her that much in the series, but when we do get to see her, she's pretty interesting. She has a fiance, and sometimes they don't always get along. But one thing that's really interesting is that doing halfway on, she's talking to somebody in mid-sentence, she will look at her cell phone when she gets a text message, and she will just stop talking to whoever it is she's talking to look at her cell phone and read whatever text she gets. And she always holds her finger and be all like, bear with, bear with, bear with, bear with, and done. Okay, we can start talking again. It's a recurring gag that always happens and it never gets old. Never. Clive is the grumpy man who works at the restaurant. He owns it and everything. He's the one who revealed to Miranda about Gary being like married. He takes jabs at Miranda too. He's just a very grumpy person, but he does try to help her and Gary get like together. Now, for some bizarre reason, he left in the third season, but he came back for the final special and everything. One cool thing about like Miranda and Stevie is that they can just make friends with anybody. When Miranda's going through her thing, there's a customer. He's only known as the customer. and he's just there, and they're just spilling their guts to this man, to the point where he just sits down with them, trying to help them figure out what it is they're gonna do about the whole Gary situation or whatever. And it's almost like he becomes a friend, even though he really doesn't know them. Even to the point where he goes back to like their place, and he knows now everything about them. They had literally spilt their guts. It turns out like he's gay and everything, so it's not like he's attracted to him. But it's just ironic how he just pops in and pops out, and then he just starts following him around and hanging out with him, and they just start telling him like all their deepest secrets and stuff. Now, many years after getting canceled, they decided to make an American reboot, not reboot, but American remake of it, starring Mialam Bollock. I think that's how you say her name. You know, Blossom, and from Amy from the Big Bang Theory and stuff. And Miranda, I think she's the executive producer, and she helped create the show. Now, I tried to watch I Am Kate in the first season. I couldn't get past like the first couple of minutes of the episode. It just didn't feel the same. They kind of kept it's more Americanized. um it just didn't feel like it had that same Miranda feel to it, you know what I'm saying? And I love Mialam, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've been a fan of her since like Blossom. So that's not the issue and everything. It doesn't feel the same to me. Now they have characters very similar to that of like the show. But one thing they did that was different is that instead of a joke shop she runs, she has like this type of like cat shop or something like that. And it's just weird. Now, the first season didn't do so well in terms of ratings, but Fox renewed it anyway. Supposedly, it got better in like the second season, and so now it's renewed for a third, and it comes out this September and stuff. So I'm really happy for her because, you know, after the Big Bang Theory, you know, and Blossom, I just want to see it on TV. I am going to try to get back into the show and try to watch it because I just want to see, you know, how different it is. But that's the one thing about a lot of remakes, especially American ones. They just don't feel the same as they do from overseas, you know? So I just want to do like a little quick rundown review of this show. It is a comedy show, and it is kind of hard to review comedies because, you know, nothing but jokes and stuff. So that kind of sucks. I really don't feel like going into like plot after plot of like storylines and episodes because you can just like see that for yourself, you know? And it's a whole lot more enjoyable when you like, you know, you see it for yourself. Plus that, and I just haven't watched this show in years, so I don't really remember much. Except for the hotel thing and like the whole when she went to the drag shop and everything. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.